Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Money Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Zamot, and with me today, I have two wonderful, wonderful women, Ali and Kenna. We are here to have a really laid back, honest money conversation. Kenna and Ali are graduates of Create Fulfilling Abundance, which is my 6 month program on money healing, self leadership, and becoming fulfillingly abundant, right? Like the title suggests. So welcome Kenna and Ali. I'm so freaking excited to have you both. If you could just start by introducing yourselves, tell people who you are, and yeah, let's start with Ali.
Hi, I'm Allie. I live in Colorado. This is actually my dream home, and I have two Bernese mountain dogs who are my favorite things in the world. And I'm working on getting a business off the ground right now, which is very exciting.
I am so excited for your business because it's going to. I mean, we can get into that later, but I wish I was a teen and was led by you and the amazing business that you have lined up for your community. So that's freaking awesome.
Thank
Kenna,
you.
introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm from Mexico and I live in Montreal in Canada. And I have my own business, I call it. It will be
Business.
projects. Yeah. And also I work as a freelancer as a registration manager, which is great because I still have the opportunity to travel around the world. So yeah.
Yay! Two awesome, empowered women on this podcast. Fuck yeah, everyone. So, where were you prior to CFA? What kept you up at night? What made you, look at a self-healing journey? Or what made you even think about healing? Or what indicated that there's something that required healing?
For me, in the immediate, I was working in a place where things were extremely toxic, and I was feeling like the itch to get out. And by itch, I mean I was just at a place where I thought, if I can't get out of here, I am not going to be able to get up in the morning to function because things are so bad right now. But because my money wounds were so deep, I could not fathom leaving a place, no matter how bad it was, without having a regular income coming in to pay my mortgage, to make sure my dogs had food, to make sure that I could just live. So it was one of those things where every time I felt like I have to get out, something has to be done, I can't continue to do this, I thought, but wait, I can't leave because I've got to be able to function. And even though I had savings, I just felt so frozen in fear and so stuck deeply in that money wound that I was like, there's no possible way for me to consider even getting out of this. And that's when I realized, like, okay, I have to do something about this thing that I have with money. And I didn't even know what the thing was. I couldn't even start to think about it, but I started listening to podcasts about inner child healing and about money. And somehow the two married with you and Gloria. And I'm just so glad that I found you because the rest is history.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're in my life. You're amazing. You're just an amazing ray of light. So, how would you describe a money wound? I mean, I get stuck sometimes in this like jargon, and especially that there are so many definitions of money wounds out there, but how would you define it, Ali?
For me, it was the thing that I knew was keeping me in an arrested state of development and progress. So I would say it was the thing that was halting my further progress in life based on my view of my finances and, the capitalistic thing that continues to keep the world running.
Wow, I love that description. So it's the thing that kind of arrested your development, arrested your growth, and not just like your growth, because we think about it from a survival perspective of like I'm not growing, but from a bigger perspective, looking at your growth from how you're impacting your community, the collective, how you're impacting, because when we grow, our dreams grow. The way that we want to serve is also going to grow. right? So by staying small because of money, our potential is also going to be stunted.
And that was exactly, I mean, you put it perfectly into words. That is exactly what
Mm-hmm.
I have been struggling with for the last couple of years, feeling like I have more to give. There's more I want to put out there in the world. But I felt like I couldn't on a personal level because this thing was holding me back. If I can't take this leap into entrepreneurship and being able to share, and actually that money wound was something that needed to be healed before I
Mm-hmm.
could progress into this
Yeah.
ability to advance and to progress and to share.
Yeah, I really respect that because a lot of people are out there leading from their money wounds. They price themselves, they go on sales calls, they sell, they market from a place of money wounding. And it's so obvious to me just because that's what I do for like, that's my life's work. But when we lead from a money wound, we're just perpetuating more wounding, right? We're not like breaking the pattern because our money wounds are not necessarily our fault. Like I say this without wanting to shame or blame, because as we know, money wounds span lifetimes before us, generations even, right? So as healers that we want to create an impact, we need to also become pattern breakers first. So we stop perpetuating the pain because money can, it can bring up a lot of pain, right? Like we know that money is neutral, but it is very linked to our survival, security, worthiness, and all that stuff. So when we lead from that wounding, we're not really leading from full potential. The
Absolutely.
other thing I want to point out here is that we're not like saying, "Oh my God, you gotta take the leap." Absolutely not. We are very, very level-headed, mature women here on this episode, and we all agree that we can't just blindly take a leap, right?
Right.
When we are moving from being employed to entrepreneurship, we need to do it in a way that is good for our nervous system, in a way that ensures that our practical day-to-day life expenses are being met. So when I left my 9 to 5, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. It was very scary, but I was so clear on what my expenses are that the last thing I wanted was to appear hungry on a sales call. Like I did not want my well-being to rely on the other person on the other end of the sales call, right? Like whether
Yeah.
they say yes or no or whatever. So I pretty much just saved for 6 months worth of expenses, right? And
Mhm.
luckily, I didn't need it. My business has been full ever since. And I just want to emphasize the fact that there are a lot of coaches out there that just encourage people to just jump and, the universe will catch you. Yes. And you need to also make sure that you're not operating from a place of survival. So please only take the leap when you feel ready, and don't do things that are, doing things that are scary are sometimes good for us because growth is right outside our comfort zone. But I'm talking about like reckless, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's the
Yeah.
beautiful thing that CFA has given me is I didn't want to proceed knowing that I had those wounds and not
Hmm.
wanting to perpetuate that, especially
Yep.
working with children.
Hmm.
But B, then from my own perspective, feeling like rather than leaping into a lagoon, swimming through it and trying to find my way onto land, CFA has given me these beautiful large stepping stones where now
Hmm.
not only do I have places where I can land safely, but I have places where I can rest because you've given us the
Yeah.
nervous system tools
Oh.
so that I can actually sit down on one of those rocks and take a look around me and feel the sun on my skin and not feel the pressure to have to keep going before I was ready.
Oh, I'm so, so glad for that, Ali. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for helping me with that.
Absolutely. Kenna. So the one thing I love, 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 and I I don't want anyone to steal this because it's totally your word, but Kenna refers to her business as a blissness. I mean, come on, guys. This is the best thing ever. I mean, you need to
Agreed.
copyright that, right? Like it's
Yeah.
amazing. So, tell us about you, Kenna. Tell us about where you were before CFA and what made you realize that you might have a money wound, and what do money wounds look like for you, or what did they look like for you?
Yeah. Mm. Well, before CF, well, just because of time before, well, the last 4 years for me have been quite a journey after my father transition, and then I start questioning my life on the whole thing.
Yeah.
But then since I got separated and then divorced, I actually noticed that one of the causes of our divorce, well, not causes, but how we live together actually was a scarcity. So I tried to really figure out like where is this scarcity mindset is coming from me, because I knew like in my family, at least from my parents, we lived okay until at least as I was 20 years or something.
Yeah.
Until I was 20 years old. So I was like, where is this coming from? So I started like digging in and more like asking questions to my mom. And so then she started saying like, well, it comes from both sides of your family, from your grandparents. And one of the things when we did the bio
The money
about
bio
money,
exercise.
yeah, that was really like, a lot of breakthroughs came there. And one of the things that I realized, like my grandfather coming from China to Mexico. So just imagining that journey, I was like,
God, yeah.
oh my God, right? So a lot of pieces started like getting like together to see, okay, this is coming from them actually. It's not even directly from my parents.
Yeah.
And that was like a liberation, really. Like knowing that, okay, like there's not something like wrong with me. It can really come from family patterns that people that we didn't even like meet, because I didn't meet, at least my grandparents.
Right?
So that was really important to know. Yeah.
I always say this, like there's always this layer of shame when we start doing the money work. There's always this layer of shame, and what you just reflected to us was so powerful, because you looking at the bigger picture of your money story, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, you had this holistic view of like, oh my God, it's not from me, I'm not broken. And that liberation that you felt because of that layer of shame, but also this compassion, you weren't like, they didn't teach me. It was more like, look at what they went through. No wonder. So having that layer of compassion and layer of respect, even of, they did all of that for me to be here. They did all of that for me to share my gifts in my blissness. What a powerful, what a powerful thing. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
Now, one of the things also that I want to mention is like, for me, like the pandemic has been a blessing. And one of the things that I actually lived through it is, I mean, I'm really happy to hear what Ali just said, that she's preparing actually, like working in the abundance and the money ones in advance before doing your business. Because for me was the opposite case. Like I was in the scarcity mindset. I was in survival mode, and that really affected my creativity and in a way of getting out there. Because as you said, Nadine, it was really at one point like, like I want clients, like that craving, and is
we all
not
have
from
that.
there. Yeah. So one of the things that I did during the pandemic, when I was having the less money incoming, like I was able to feel abundance from within. It's when I understand that, when you put these things into perspective, it was, that the people around me, that I was just, here in my apartment on my own, I never felt like more abundance and happy in my life. And so it's like, when I get like to say, okay, yeah, it's not about the material things, and it's really how I feel with them, because I also felt a lot of freedom. And we were not even allowed to be outside, so putting all those things together and then noticing like, okay, I feel abundant, but I still have this scarcity mindset. So that's one of the things I said, like, no, there's something in there. There's still like, there's still work to do. Like I love working on myself and digging more stuff.
Oh, yeah, of course. We
So,
all do.
So for me, like, this programming has been like more digging, and it's just been like fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't stop at the breakthrough. The whole thing is that the
No.
breakthrough is actually the starting point, and a lot of programs stop at the breakthrough. You're like, yay! And then like a month later on, you're like, oh, now what? Right? But
Yeah.
for us, like I always say, the breakthrough is actually the diving board, right? Like we walk and we walk and we find the breakthrough. We're like, oh shit, that's where it is, and then that's where we go deeper,
Mhm.
right? Like that's the whole way that I work. Is that no, breakthroughs are just great. They're great mindset stuff, but then we go deeper into the nervous system, and I mean, money archetypes themselves. Tell us about how, Ali, do you use the money archetypes or archetypes in general in your day-to-day life? Because we cover a lot about the money archetypes, especially starting in phase 1 of CFA.
Yeah, and I was about to say, with regard to what you just were talking about, that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the best parts. I think one of actually the best part of CFA is the fact that you really start at that breakthrough point. You walk us up to that point where you're like, okay, let's investigate this. I will be here with you, and we're going to jump in here so that you have that breakthrough at the beginning of the program, and then you have the rest of the entire program to walk you through that breakthrough so that you don't feel
Yeah.
like you've just had this aha moment where you're like, okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to start this. And then people are like, well, congratulations, see you later. So that's one of the best parts, or the best part of CFA. And with regard to the archetypes, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I just was thinking about that yesterday as I was, it starts to be this, not insidious, but just this little nugget, this little pearl that you end up following in your day-to-day life, or probably,
Mm-hmm.
a weekly basis. You start to realize, last night I was looking at some things that I was like, gosh, in doing some of this investigation with somatic healing, I was thinking, okay, well, this could be really helpful, because sometimes when I'm sitting outside, I don't have any back support. So what if I got this silly little chair that I could sit outside on? Do I really want to spend money on that? Before, my tyrant would have been like, oh, no, you do not need anything to sit outside. Please. You've got a mat, you've got a blanket. You can sit. Why would you possibly buy that? What good could that do? And then all of a sudden, my magician popped up, and she was like, please, this is going to be allowing her to sit outside. She's going to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be more relaxed if she's outside than if she's inside. Why would I not want this? And
Oh,
more
yeah.
importantly, I know that I've got money in my bucket for that, because you've helped me set up my bucket system, which we can get into later, because that's one of the most surprising things for me. So just
Mm-hmm.
realizing that, I had that money, and that my magician stepped in and said, hey, yeah, absolutely, you should get something like that. You will use that, and it will make your life.
So, I do have episodes in the past where we talk a lot about money archetypes. So if you're listening and you're like, what the hell is that? Go back and listen to the money archetypes episode, because it's one of the tools that I teach in CFA, to help us with, leading ourselves, to help us with identifying what our subconscious beliefs and behaviors are with money, and how to, it's not enough to know, but also how to lead yourself and heal yourself through these. So I love this example, Ali, because you and I have a very similar tyrant. We our money stuff are very similar, and I would say, like, most of the people that come through my Zoom doors are they have more of a fool archetype, which is like the overspending, overindulging in a way that is misaligned. But you and I, Ali, we're kind of like money hoarders.
Mm-hmm.
Where our sense of
Me too.
security, you too, Kenna, where our sense of security comes from money, right? So if
Yes.
we spend that money, if that money goes away, there goes our security, there goes our happiness, there goes our well-being. And I think that's a universal thing, right? But for us, it kind of looks like holding in the money. And for other people, it can look like buying things with that money to procure, or like to simulate that sense of security that needs to come from within, really. But if it hasn't been modeled for us in childhood, how can we conjure it up all of a sudden out of the blue as an adult, right? It needs to be modeled for us first. So obviously, we are going to rely on external things for that sense of security. And one of the big things that we rely on as a society for status, for success, for worth, for belonging is money, right?
Right.
And that means that sometimes our day-to-day life can suffer. You know, Ali needs to sit outside with a chair that supports her back, because when you sit outside with a chair that supports your back and you're no longer worrying about what, you know, your back is hurting or whatever, that's when you're no longer in discomfort. You're comfortable, and all of a sudden all these ideas come down, all these like amazing downloads about your own business will come to you, all these things about how you're going to elevate yourself and grow and elevate others in return will come to you, right? So we look at these things as like this small thing. It's a chair, but
It's not.
it's
It's so much
actually
bigger.
it's bigger than that. Look at the bigger picture, right?
Right. Yeah. Where are you going
Yeah.
to go to nurture yourself? Because even though a
Yes.
chair doesn't seem like it's possible or capable of nurturing
Exactly.
you, when you're,
Yeah.
for me, when I'm outside, when I get me comfortable, soaking in some vitamin D and listening to
Mhm.
the birds and watching my boys play, that's where my mind is like, oh, let me give you some good shit to chew on.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's when all the good shit comes down. Kenna, you're laughing. How does that resonate with you? And tell us about your whole experience with archetypes and the buckets. We'll get into the buckets in a second, but also with what Ali just reflected, you know, the little things that actually add up to a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of self-care and
Oh, yeah.
self-love.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's very important, as you said, she's taking care of her body and nurturing herself just by having that pleasure of having a chair where he can
Hmm.
lean in and then, be nice, feeling comfortable in nature. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's all those little, details that we can actually say, yeah, I'm doing it because it feels good for me. It's good for
Hmm.
my well-being.
Hmm.
It's where I go. But then, as you said, then we have these little voices, which are basically the archetypes that are
The
like sometimes like,
protectors. Yeah. Yep.
yeah. I really found it very interesting how you call it that it's actually protectors, and then understanding how sometimes it's the voice of the tyrant, or sometimes it's the voice of the victim, and trying and understanding these ones, how they come from,
Hmm.
according like to my beliefs or my perceptions, that
Yep.
it really helped like to me to understand, okay, it's coming from there. And then
Hmm.
sometimes they were like three of the archetypes put together. So it was like, oh my God, so
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun to understand, and then
Mm.
to bring up the magician and the warrior and into place to get back into alignment. Yeah.
Yep. This stuff is real. Like, I use archetypes in every aspect of my life. It did begin with money. And I was sharing about this today on Instagram about how I misunderstood self leadership coming from a very patriarchal culture, coming from the Middle East. I always thought like the leader needs to be strong and not feel anything and always be in control. But then when I started learning more and more about money archetypes and all that stuff, I realized that leadership, self leadership, like from an authentic place, is leading from that magician. And it means taking care of all the younger parts, taking care of these protector parts so that they no longer need to protect. Because ultimately, these protector parts are just trying to keep you safe. They're in your nervous system. Your nervous system's main role is to not let you die, right? So it just draws from these old archives, from our memories, from our beliefs that are not necessarily even ours. Like you said, Kenna, there might be from our ancestors, right? So once we
Exactly.
relieve and unburden these protector parts from that place of self-leadership, that's when we have more harmony and coherence within us. That's when we can lead. And ultimately, that's what it is about. Even with like our finances, it's not about like being good with money, having this budget and like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. Being good with money is actually about self-leadership. It's about dealing with your finances from that place of authentic leadership, of this is, I'm clear on what my values are, I'm clear on what my purpose is, I'm clear on the direction of my life, I'm also clear that I'm supported, and I don't have to do everything on my own, but I do have this plan in place. I do have this solid structure, because a lot of people, manifestation, we're all manifesting all day long. And it's not that difficult when you're doing, when you're doing the work, to all of a sudden have this influx of money. But where does it go? Well, you need to have these solid structures, which brings us into the conversation of the bucket system, right? So the bucket system, it's not a budget. It's
Mm-mm.
a structure to hold in your abundance, pretty much. And I feel like, Kenna, you were like, I kind of been doing something similar to that. Ali, you were so opposed to them in the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, how have they changed your finances? Either of you can start talking. I mean, it's fine.
Well, me, I was doing them before. So, well, what I did is just change some of the names to more like, which
To match
with
the
words
values,
that are
yeah.
more, exactly, to match the values. That's what I did. I mean, at this point, I'm not into like receiving enough funds to really be able to put money in the buckets as I wish to.
Mhm.
But I like how having that flexibility, really, like to say, okay, like I'm gonna have, whenever I have enough money, then I'm gonna put certain amount there, certain amount here. The fuck it, what is it? Fuck it
The fuck
bucket.
it
I
bucket.
love that.
That's the
I
best.
do
Fuck
love
it
that
bucket.
idea. Yeah, yeah, and then also like already like having a bucket, like to start putting money there to start paying back my debt. So
Mhm.
yeah.
The idea of the fuck it bucket actually came from one of my very good friends, Lauren. So, she's very Aussie. And she's like, the fuck it, just put in the fuck it bucket with her little accent. I'm like, I'm stealing that, Loz. I love the fuck it bucket. Right? It's
The
like,
best.
oh, just get it from the fuck it bucket, It's so good. I love it. Yeah, I mean, having flexibility with money, or I think what really stops people in their tracks when it comes to doing the money work is like believing that they're just going to be disciplined and restricted until the day they die, right? Like, to buy a house, you need to stop doing this and this and this. But in actuality, it's not about the restriction or the discipline. It's about being organized. It's about being clear, right? Like, I'm currently saving for a house and a car, and I'm going on a holiday once a month, and you can do all these things. And the other
Exactly.
thing that I really want to like scream is that you don't have to punish yourself just because you have debt, right?
Yeah.
So many people restrict their whole freaking lives just so that they get out of debt. Yes, we don't want to pay interest. Yes, it's debilitating. And yes, there are ways around it. There are ways for you to pay debt and live your freaking life, because all we have is today. I'm not being morbid, but it's true. We can't punish ourselves for debt. The whole freaking system is rigged so that we all get into debt. You want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, you want to buy a program, you want to whatever. I mean, credit cards in America, you open a bank account and every week you get bombarded by credit card offers. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I've lived all over the freaking world, and this is the only place that does that.
Yeah.
And to be in debt is not shameful. To be in debt is simply you had to borrow money. And yes, you pay a little bit of a premium for the advantage of having that. And then you pay it off. And you don't have to punish yourself for it. So I'm going to get down from my soapbox right now.
Yeah, at one point I remember I was like, oh, and actually I can say that I'm, like very proud, and then at one point like lucky, if I can say, because this is the first time in my life that I had that. I have never had that, and the fact that I do have it now, and it's because I invested in myself.
Yes.
That's what I said. Like, yeah, it's not that I wasted, in buying whatever, no, I invested in myself, in programs, in trainings, so.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's worth it, and and eventually I'll be able to pay it
Yeah,
back.
of course.
But yeah, I mean, and one of the big achievements that I got with CFA was the fact that I finally put it in my list.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it was hidden. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
there
It
was
was
like that chain
that
within.
shame.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that, I mean, we can go on Google and find how we can pay off debt. There's so many methods, the snowball method, the whatever avalanche method. But what really, really matters is not to go back into debt, right? We pay it off. I have most of my clients come to me saying, I paid $30,000 worth in debt and now I'm back in debt. What the hell? You know? And it's because we haven't healed that shame, that underlying shame. And also we haven't healed, like, paying debt is a band-aid approach. Okay, we want to pay debt, but what caused that debt? You know, if we pay it off, we're not seeing the actual root cause of the debt. That's why a lot of people pay it off and go back into it, even when they double their income. It's because there are underlying reasons that manifested in debt, manifested in overspending. And that's where CFA will take you to see what is the wounding that created that misaligned spending, right? And also to help you heal that debt shame, because that's very important. That is the most important thing, right?
Mhm.
So, anyway,
Yeah, it was
that's a very
because
big one.
in a way, I was restricting myself to do some things
Mm-hmm.
because of that. And
Yeah.
and one of the things, it was like at one point I remember, like during that program, once that I was sharing, I remember I started crying because I was like, I refuse to not do things that I love doing because I
Yeah.
don't have money at this time. Like I'm gonna figure out how to manage it, but I'm gonna keep living, and then still,
Yeah.
uh, still, even though I'm still in here, but eventually it will flow, and
Yes.
having that, that work doing and working more with the nervous system for me helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
truly, yeah.
Yeah. Working with the nervous system, especially Ali mentioned something about, like, you're a mental health professional,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
how did, like, understanding your nervous system from this perspective that how we teach in CFA, and from looking at your finances from this healing / nervous system / regulation perspective, how, give us your take on that as someone who works in that field.
It's funny because coming from that mental health perspective, you're constantly giving other people and yourself these tools, these
Mm-hmm.
coping skills, as we like to call them. You can take a walk, you can, go take a long shower, you can give yourself time to read, or, jump on the trampoline if you're a kid. But the truth of the matter is that is something that you're doing after the fact. And the nervous system healing, in my mind, is something that you're doing proactively to help
Yeah.
keep your system more regulated, so that you're less
Mm-hmm.
likely to get to a point where you're having those big blowout moments where it's like, okay, now I have to take time away from what I was supposed to be doing. But also gives you the tools to, once you're in those places where you're thinking, okay, I think I'm a little activated, I'm kind of anxious, or I'm really upset,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm feeling a certain way, to use those tools too, to say, oh, okay, I know exactly what I can do now, whether it's taking a very slow, intentional walk, or whether it's doing some boo breathing, which is my absolute favorite thing that I learned from the nervous system perspective, or, getting activated, knowing the polyvagal ladder, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that from freeze, I have to go up to fight, and then I have to do, I don't have to do a HIIT workout, but that's one of my chosen things. I do a HIIT
Mm-hmm.
workout, or I go out and I do something to dispel or disperse some energy. So I think that's one of the most beautiful things too about the program, is that it brings in the science during that heal phase. That heal phase
Yeah.
is so important for me to help learn some of
Mm-hmm.
those tools so that I could pass those along to the kids that I'm working with too. Just
Mm-hmm.
such
Mm-hmm.
simple little things. You don't need anything to have nervous system regulation. It's just yourself.
Yeah. And co-regulation also helps, being in community and being around people that make you feel safe. It's an imperative for human beings, right?
Absolutely.
But also having that awareness that your financial behaviors are also a nervous system response.
Oh, yes. Yes. And to go back to the bucket system, I was
Mhm.
on the other side. I mean, as you mentioned, I was the one who was like, oh no, this is going to make things so much worse
Oh
for
yeah,
me, because
the
I
long
thought,
messages. I'm like, Nadine, da-da-da-da-da." I'm like,
you know,
Ali?
I was resistant to it, but I was also trying to ask more questions and be proactive with myself,
Yeah, of
thinking,
course.
I already check my bank accounts what I think is probably too often and what I know now is too often. But what that gave me, meaning the bucket system, is an ability to go in there and manage it while it meant feeling abundance within those systems
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than too much regulation, rather than being stifled, rather than going through that scarcity that I had been going through my entire life and feeling like I've just got one single number that indicates my worth, whether it's,
Yeah.
my independence or whether it's my ability to pay for this next thing. And now that I have the bucket system, I'm able to look at so many different things. And for the first time in my life, not only do I have emergency savings in the same two places, because you're like, no, do what works for your nervous system. So what works for my nervous system is having immediate savings within my bank and then more savings within a high interest
Me
savings account,
too.
because that's what helps my nervous system feel
Yeah.
like, you know what,
I
kiddo,
have an
you're taken
emergency
care
fund for
of.
my emergency fund.
Yes, exactly. But then also for the first time in my life, actually having a fund just for fun. Just for fun, because I never had that before. It was
Yeah.
always, I'm going to have to work overtime. No matter how much I had in savings, it was, oh, I'm going to have to make that money. And it's going to have to come from this place of scarcity where I'm scrambling and running and trying to catch up to it in order to earn my fun, in order to earn my break and my vacation. And now I actually have that built in. I not only have that buffer, but I have that abundance that says, we're just waiting for you, sweetheart. We've got you. There's this soft,
Ali.
sweet place. And I have never had that before. And I love knowing that, because now when I want to take a vacation, it's like, take your vacation. You don't even need permission. You don't need to work for it. It's already here for you. Take your vacation.
Mic drop.
Yes. Definitely.
Fuck yeah, Ali. Something that, like what you just said and what Kenna just added earlier, ultimately, it's not about the freaking money, right? All of these freaking programs that revolve our whole life around our finances. Our life is not about money. We don't even take it with us when we leave. Money is a facilitator. It's a facilitator of enjoyment, a facilitator of creating a legacy for the people that come after us, whether it's our children, our community. It is the facilitator that will help us buy that house that we want. It's a facilitator to buy a car, go on holiday, expand our impact on the world, right? It's not about the money. Money is a mate. It's your buddy that comes along the ride and has this power of, I don't want to say it has a power, but it has the ability to facilitate life only because it's 2023, because everything costs money, right?
Yep.
And I want to say that a lot of other programs, so I always say that there's one side of the pendulum where there's like really finance oriented programs, the other side of the pendulum, which is the whole like new age manifestation focus programs. And one side of the pendulum says keep saving, and the other side of the pendulum says keep spending because you can manifest more. And I, from my background in accounting and also as a very spiritual person and channel, I like to combine both, plus adding a dash of science, right? Like it's perfect because very spiritual slash being an accountant for 10 years before going into my business, and also being highly into biology as somebody who studied nutrition and food science at uni. This is like a perfect mix of all the things that I'm into, bringing in the nervous system stuff, bringing in the holistic stuff, and also like the more like spiritual stuff, and bringing in the finance nitty gritty nuts and bolts stuff, which is what we need. We need a balance of all of these things because we can manifest, right? But where are we going to put we need a structure that is flexible enough, right? We can spend money, but we also need a structure that will ensure that we have the savings, because we need savings, right? We need to have that emergency fund. We need to have all these things. What's your relationship like with abundance now, Kenna? Because you're not new to all of this. And I'm really curious to see how your perspective on abundance and scarcity has changed.
Mm. That's a really good question. I guess it really come to the name of your program, that is fulfilling abundance.
Yeah.
I was feeling abundant, but it comes now this fulfillment because again, I still don't have the money, or at least the one I desire yet,
Yeah.
but I feel good. Just the fact that I got to know myself better. I got to then understand. Then again, my scarcity mindset was really, really, how do you say, ingrained in me.
Yeah.
So then being able to understand that part and to accept it and to actually heal it and say, okay, it doesn't come from me. It is now like it's that fulfilling abundance really of I'm at peace. Like I feel more at peace. Like I told you, I feel at peace with money. And I know money for me, it plays a big role
Yeah.
in my life because then I was always thinking like, okay, I was basing my actions really on how much money I was having. And now it's more like, okay, I want to do this. Okay. But it's more like, do I want to invest my energy and my time in there? And then it comes the money.
Yes, exactly.
So that has been like a big shift. I mean, that's really like the fulfillment because it's like, do I really want to put my energy there? It comes from there.
That's so good. Yeah, the name of the program
Yeah.
is very intentional because abundance is abundance, and sometimes abundance will wreck our earth. Like just looking at, oh my God, I'm just gonna manifest all this abundance, all these shoes, all these blah 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 blah. How is that affecting the earth? How is that affecting the space that you're living in? How fulfilling is what you're manifesting? That is a massive, massive freaking question. And also the word create versus just manifesting, because manifestation is a co-creative process, right? So, Ali, what's your relationship with manifestation now?
It's funny because you can read or hear about books like The Secret, and it's like, oh, just think about things positively, and it will somehow come to fruition. And that's
Somehow.
just not how things work.
Yeah.
And for me, I was so firmly entrenched and really, again, like frozen in fear with scarcity. And I could not, outside of, I've been keeping gratitude journals since COVID. That's really been sweet for me. But those were like kind of stolen moments each day where at the end of the day, I would reflect back and be like, okay, these are the things that I was grateful for. But I couldn't even see abundance on the other side of that. And manifestation was even further outside of abundance for me. So that was even not, that was outside of the realm of possibility for me up until CFA.
Yeah.
And now, that first heal phase was really what like just grabbed me and pulled me in, because it got me to reflect not only on just how much I had bought into this patriarchal, shame-based system of finances and scarcity and where I was coming from, and the fact that I was, just the things that I was holding back from myself on a daily basis. Everything from, like, oh, don't eat that cupcake, save it for tomorrow, to, don't burn
the same.
Don't burn the candle. Don't allow yourself those things because it can so easily get out of control, is what I was thinking. You have to remain restrained and stuck to those things because that's what's keeping you safe. Versus when I started to think about abundance, I was like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. And it's not material abundance. It's the fact that I get to go out and have a hike. And I got to start, I remember one day during class being like, oh my gosh, you guys, I just realized that my backyard has these linden trees and they smell amazing.
Wow.
And I had never known. And I've lived here for 5-6 years. And I just never even allowed myself to think about those things or to really register them in my body. So now I think about the fact that like linden is one of my favorite scents. And I realized that because I started viewing abundance as being something that I can allow myself to experience, rather than just kind of holding at bay because that was somehow going to spoil me or impact my ability to protect myself and remain independent. So now that manifestation piece is such a concept that's within reach. It's like, oh, it doesn't have to be this silly concept that's so abstract. Now it's, oh, because I can allow myself to experience abundance, I can actually think about these other things now that I have been wanting for myself with my business or my business, as kind of likes to say. I can allow myself to have those experiences too.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to hear that, Ali. That's beautiful. That is
Yeah.
I can
so
so
beautiful.
relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of like having that idea of restriction, and it's just it's so contracted to the body, and so now it's just by releasing that, it just comes this kind of like expansion, and I saying no, like and that exploration also of abundance, right? That it's not only money, and at the beginning, at least from my side, that was my idea, that abundance was only with money. And when I started understanding that, no, money is a teeny tiny part.
It's
But
a very small, it's part of it, but it's
exactly. It's really
I know.
nature. It's everything we see around, we have around, and it's up to us to really want to see it, because all of us, we are abundant. It's up to us if we want to see it or not.
Yeah, the way I look at it is that abundance is everywhere, but sometimes what blocks us from abundance, it's not about being. My perspective is that scarcity is when we are blocked by from abundance through our wounding. This is when we experience scarcity. Scarcity is experienced when our wounds believe that abundance is not safe. And we believe that abundance is not safe because in the past, receiving was not safe. In the past, receiving was conditional. In the past, you had to do something to be able to receive, to be worthy, or the word that you used, Ali, to earn the prestige of receiving, right? So that is what scarcity is for me, is that when you're in scarcity, there is something that is blocking you from abundance. And we we use the language of emotions to become clear on what's blocking us, and also through the money archetypes. When I feel scarcity, I know that there's something blocking me. What is blocking me? I go and use the lingo of the money archetypes to make it more tangible, right? Like, oh my God, I feel so scarce. I feel so scared. Like, all of that is very general. But when we go into the self-leadership of like, okay, I'm feeling scarce. Something is scaring me. My nervous system is activated. What does it feel like? Oh, that sounds okay. That sounds like the victim. So what does the victim need? Because there are archetypes. Archetypes are called archetypes because they exist in all of us, right? So when I give you the framework of how to work with each archetypes in CFA, it just like, it's a shortcut. You're like, oh, the victim usually needs this. Okay, this is what is needed. This is why I'm feeling anxious. This is why my nervous system is in flight mode or in dorsal or whatever, right? So that gives you the shortcut to feeling abundant again, because all it is fear, right? And I'm not like just saying stop feeling the fear. No. I don't use that kind of lingo. I don't use that language. It's not about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's about leading yourself through the fear. It's about being the leader in your emotional world, of not allowing the younger parts to drive because they're young. They're not supposed to know how to drive, right? But that is how I look at it. It doesn't need to be complicated. And we can lead an easeful life. We can be abundant in the here and the now, because abundance is everywhere, most certainly. And when we start looking at everything as abundance, just hanging out with a friend, just being alive, just all of that is abundance. That's when we start softening and opening up to it. Right? When we stop having that rigid idea that it has to come in this way only.
Yeah. And with regard
because
to that
like we said in CFA, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, with regard to that softening too, self-compassion
Mhm.
is one of the things that kept coming up for us too in CFA.
Yeah.
And that's such a
Mhm.
beautiful thing because that self-compassion isn't something most of us allow in ourselves. But looking at those money archetypes and what they're helping protect us from or working
Mhm.
for us is one of those things. Once you start realizing, oh, that's just my innocence, or my
Mhm.
tyrant is trying to protect me from that, it
Mhm.
brings in that
Yeah.
self-compassion piece that's so beautiful. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
well, he's here because he's had to protect you in the past. You've had parents who have taken money out of your account, so it makes
Yeah.
sense. He's
Yeah,
trying to
it makes
protect
sense.
you. That innocent, she just wants, My Little Pony. So it's okay if you buy her a My Little Pony. It's those types of things where you look at them and you go, oh, I can understand where they're coming from and I have compassion for that. So rather than coming
Mhm.
down so hard on yourself and then getting
Yeah.
really rooted further in that scarcity mindset, you flip
Yeah.
that and you can have that self-compassion, say, oh, I know where you're coming from. This is the wound
Absolutely.
and this is what I
Yes,
can do about it.
absolutely. That is why we do not talk about these things as self-sabotage
Mm-hmm.
or limiting beliefs. These two concepts are very shame-inducing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh man. Yeah. I'm speaking of abundance, I feel very abundant hanging out with both of you. Thank you so much for being here and for being so open. And what about CFA that went with your values or with your life mission that you decided to invest your, most importantly, time and energy and also money into it?
For me, knowing that this business that I have been creating is so important to me as a person and so embodied. Um, Everything that I have inside of me was simultaneously making me really scared and fearful because I wanted to make
Mhm.
sure that I
Yeah, of
got it
course.
right. And
Yes, of course.
also really hopeful, thinking, okay, I can look at somebody like Nadine who has so beautifully involved all of the things that are so important to you and your story, hearing your story and realizing like, okay, so she's incorporated these things that she knows
Mhm.
she's, really good at. You were just talking about your background in accounting and knowing that you're a spiritual person too, and how all of those things that most people, I think, would not have ever thought to put together ended up manifesting in this beautiful program that you've allowed us to go through and feeling like, okay, if she can combine all of those experiences and make something so impactful out of it, then I can too. So I really looked to you as kind of that role model person who I was like, okay, what she's done, I would love to be able to replicate that for myself. And so that allowed me to look at this program and think, I can go in. It's going to be just fine for me again, because I was coming from such a place of scarcity where I was like, do I have the money to spend on this? And freaking out about it for about a week. And then realizing I need to do this. This is going to
Mhm.
be an investment in myself and an
Mhm.
investment in future generations, hopefully too, while I'm working with kids so that I can
Yeah.
prevent them from getting to the place where I had come from before I went through CFA.
Oh, thank you so much, Ali. So, speaking of expanding receivership, I'm sitting here going like, "Oh my god, I received this. Thank you so much."
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course, you're welcome. What about you, Kenna? What about CFA that jived with your values and your mission for you personally and for your blissness?
Um, Well, since I've been struggling with my finances for a while, so that was one of
Mm,
the things. And knowing that I was having this scarcity mindset, and in a way, I've been working on it in the last 2-3 years.
yeah,
Um, but I know it was something like deeper there. So, and I've been following you for 2 years or something since we
yeah,
met,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
listened to your podcast. I really like, your energy, your approach, and your fuck yeah, and your hell no, and so that's the way I see, the life too. It's like being raw sometimes. It's
Hmm.
not like no, it's like to the point,
Yep.
and so when you said I'm having a group program. I was like, I'm in. I literally didn't have much idea of what was about it, but just a bit. But I was like,
Mhm.
I don't care. Like, I know how you are, like, and I got to know you even deeper now, and I'm
Yeah.
just so blessed for that. And I feel very abundant as well because of that. And Ali and a whole group of beautiful ladies that we were there. That no, I was just like, yeah. As soon as you said it, like I'm in,
Yeah,
and
you're the first
I
person.
manage.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Like a lot of marketing programs are like, you need to go into the detail, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. And my people, it's not like my people, it's the people that need to get the message and the codes that are in the program will find the program. Like I've got clients that found me that my energy came to them in an ayahuasca ceremony. Like I'm not too fussed about marketing, right? Like it's fine. And the other two ladies also that were in CFA in your cohort have, they didn't really buy because of my amazing marketing skills. It's just because I've been so honest and raw about my journey since day one. That is speaking of self-leadership. I always lead with honesty and rawness, and like I never pretend that I'm like this very self-controlled person. Hell no. I'm emotional as fuck, and it's just like leading myself first and foremost. It's not about leading people, it's about leading yourself, and that just then has a ripple effect on the people that want to be in your energy and people that want to learn from you, right? So it's really that simple. So I know we covered that in our last group ceremony inside of CFA, but I would love to go around and ask you both what have you manifested through CFA, and what have you manifested for your inner child in specific?
For me, I'm on my next steps to my business, and I'm not throwing myself into the lagoon as I referenced earlier. I'm giving myself these wonderful, lovely stepping stones that feel abundant and fulfilling. And that feels really good because from the time that I knew I wanted to start empowerment, I started feeling like, oh gosh, I am not coming from a place where I have people in my life that can help lead me through this. I don't have people that I can go to and say, hey, you've been through this, you've started your
Mhm.
own business. I would love some leadership around this. So
Mhm.
knowing now that I'm in BAM and that I have, some mentorship through the business piece of things
Mhm.
is really such a beautiful manifestation that came from CFA, because once
Mhm.
again, it was, okay, can I invest my money? Can I invest in
Yeah.
myself so that I can feel warm and supported, going through the next steps of creating my
Yeah.
business? And
Mhm.
just knowing how better to care for myself. I've been going through this somatic healing piece for the last month now, and just starting to really pay attention to my body, because prior to
Yeah.
this, my brain was so loud, and in a good way.
Mhm.
She always spoke up for me, and she always kept me on track and things like that. But it also discounted other major parts of me that needed to be included.
Yeah.
And so now I am really starting to pay more attention to my body and what my body has to say to me. So this
Yes.
integration is absolutely an integration of self, is absolutely something that has manifested from CFA too. And that's huge. I mean, talk about life altering.
It's big. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is big. Manifesting the new chapter of your life. I'm very, very, very happy to hear that. I'm very proud of you and very happy and glad that you're in that level, because the world needs you. Your message, your potency, you too, Kenna, everybody out there. The
Yes,
world
we
needs
all.
you to be in your authentic power. Right? Being in your wounding is maybe it feels familiar, and familiar is safe to your nervous system, but that's not where the juicy growth comes from. We did not come on this life earth journey to remain small. We're here to spread our magic, because it's not about you. Your magic is not about you. Your magic is about the magic that will help others grow, and in turn help others grow, and so on and so forth. Right?
Absolutely.
My gosh.
It's a
Fuck
ripple
yeah.
effect.
Ripple
Yes.
effect. Yeah. What about you, Kenna? What did you manifest for yourself and for your inner child? And where are you at now? And also, in the same, like, tell us more about your business and where people can find you since your business is up and running.
Thank you. One of the things I really put my all my parts together with this program. Like I
Yeah.
didn't notice that I was having like my inner child and my ego. Like I put them like out of me,
Mhm.
and those are also part of myself.
Yeah.
So by putting them together and having that, talking to my little girl and bringing their home here into my heart, that really was a big shift for me because I really feel whole now. In a way, yeah, I was feeling it, but now it's really like I embody it
Yeah.
truly. So
Mm.
yeah, because for me, working with the nervous system is the first time that I do it, and as Ali was saying, just being more present with my body and noticing more what is going on, and because sometimes, of course, we get too much into our heads.
Yeah.
So really being more present into my body now, it has makes a big difference. A big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's lovely. I always say
Yeah.
your body is your buddy on your journey. Your body is your buddy because
Yeah.
all the wisdom is in the body. And we
Yeah.
are taught to lead from the mind. And yes, it's safer to lead from logic, but guess what, y'all? 90% of our decisions are emotional, especially when it comes to money. We all know what we need to
Yeah.
do, right? Our brain is not deficient. We know what we need to do. It is our emotions that are really leading. So understanding our emotions. Oh my God.
Correct.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, both of you, for willing to share so openly and vulnerably about your experience in life, in CFA, in your future. Um, like I said, please just share your stuff. Where can people find you? I know, Ali, do you want to talk a little bit about what you're about to embark on? Do you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, I'll give you a
Yeah,
quick
tell us.
one-liner. So, growing up, similar to you, your wounding points to your calling, as I like to say. So the places
Yep,
where you
beautiful.
kind of felt deficient growing up is part of what that magic that you were just referring to will help manifest to future generations. So that is what I am working on. It is a program for kids 12 to 18 called Empowerment. And I can certainly, give you the website or whatever, and then I'll be taking people on a wait list once everything opens up and is completely ready. The program
Oh my
itself has
God.
been written and
Yeah.
everything like that. And it's just to help kids understand where their values and then where their talents and what's important to them are all aligned so that
God, I
they
wish I
have an
had
idea
that.
going into those all stressful transitions from middle school and high school and then into college, so that 12 to 18-year range, and so that they can get some social support along the way too, because it's a group program where they bring a mentor into it so that they have that adult support from not only who they bring but then the other adults in the program, their peers, so that they can get
Amazing.
some peer support and then go off into the world knowing and being grounded in who they are, and not like, oh, I have this plan, I know exactly how I'm going to get through engineering school so that I can build, the next bridge somewhere. But this is who I am. This is what's really important to me, so that no matter what life throws at me, I have this very solid grounding. And this is who I am. This is
Yeah.
what's important. And this is how I can move forward knowing myself.
Dear Lord, I've got goosebumps. I, first
Me
of all,
too.
wish I had that growing up. I was so freaking lost. And having your energy, for me, teenage Nadine, would have been a life changer.
Me
I'm
too.
so
That's why I built
friggin'
it.
excited. Yeah. Yeah, right. We build these things for like the previous versions of us, right? I'm
Yes.
so freaking excited that you're going to launch this. And yes, please share the website and everything so I can pop them in the show notes and, opening that wait list. Fuck yeah.
Thank
Fuck
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
The fuck yeah life.
Hell
Woo!
yes.
Yeah. What about you, Kenna? Tell us about your stuff, your
Right.
wellness,
No,
your well-being
it,
project.
it's really interesting. But it's kind of like it follows what Ali was saying, just in a way. I think it's just like now I'm supporting women who are in their like more like in their middle life, and empowering them like to know who they are and their values as
Yeah.
well. Because I work more with women who are in life transitions, like divorce, separation, if they're in their awakening process, or
Yeah, oh, that
even if
awakening process is sticky as fuck, isn't it?
oh,
Yeah. I wish
well,
I wish I
when we
had
get in,
that.
I know when we get into the void, it's like,
Oof, I
right.
know. Oh my God, me 2015. I wish I had that energy. Oh, sorry. Tell us more. Tell
Yeah,
us
no,
more.
it's okay. No, so it's basically about that, like really helping them and guiding them in those different processes, because there's also a lot of grieving. And
Oh gosh.
so since
Yeah.
I've been divorced twice, so it's also like that's why I focus more in women who are in those kind of like divorce separation, because I've been
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And so to really for them to learn who they are, so they can start building the life that they desire, not what they made of with all the hats that they are wearing, because we are not
Yeah.
those hats. At the
No.
end, it's
No, we're
it's
not
our own
that.
being. So if
Mm-hmm.
we get to know who we really are, put our values and our desires, so it's really so they can start living the life
Mm,
that they want, not
yeah.
what they've been into a checklist or it was expected or anything else. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's why yeah, that's what my label at this point is. It's empowerment guide, and
You
my
are an
business.
empowerment guide. I love how you
Thank
lead
you,
yourself. It's amazing.
thank you. And
Yeah.
the name of my project is Wellbeing Project. So yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing that. I will pop
yeah.
your details, both of y'all. Is that how we use y'all? Both of y'all. I lived in the South for 3 years. I'm married to a Southerner, so I get to say y'all. I'll
Okay.
pop y'all's details in the show notes. Full sentence using y'all. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in. If you have any questions about CFA, reach out to me, reach out to Ali, reach out to Kenna. They're like
Yes.
the CFA ambassadors now.
Yay.
Hell
It's
yeah.
our little project. It's our baby. Reach out, ask questions. Would love to have you if it aligns. And I will see you all in the next episode.